All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. You are here for the Get Home Safe panel discussion. If this isn't what you signed up for, this is what you're going to get. So thank you for being here. My name is Art Thompson. I'm the Director of North Dakota Workforce Safety and Insurance, and it's my pleasure to be the moderator for this panel discussion this afternoon. Just want to take a couple minutes to talk a little bit about WSI, who we are, what we do, why we do it. Many of you are familiar with us, I'm sure, but we are the sole provider of workers' compensation insurance for any business that does work in North Dakota. We are one of 4 monopolistic states, and so that means even if you have coverage in another state, when you work in North Dakota, you have to buy it from us. And that system has been in place since 1919, and we think it works really well, and we are excited to be your partners and build those relationships with each and every one of you. Our purpose at WSI is to care for injured workers, and if you've heard me speak before, you've heard this line that the best way to care for an injured worker, in my opinion, is to make sure that we're doing everything we can to ensure they don't get hurt in the first place. And so we have a number of loss control representatives stationed throughout the state that are there to help you, that are there to help administer our grant programs, our safety discount programs, a variety of programs that we offer to our policyholders, all aimed at keeping those valuable resources that you have at your work site, your people, safe and allowed to go home in the same condition they came into work. A couple years ago, we started looking at things a little bit differently. And I think in the safety world, you always have to look at how you're conducting business and meet people where they're at. And I'm a lifelong North Dakotan. I grew up in Washburn, right? Small town North Dakota. You don't tell people you can't get something done, right? You just cowboy up and, we're going to get it done, and maybe this will work. Well, throughout my time in running different operations, I started to realize that maybe's hurt people. Maybe's kill people. Maybe's not good enough. We need to find a way to have that message resonate and make safety an important value and remind people why they work. And so we came up with the Get Home Safe North Dakota initiative. And it's a program that's, yes, it's got a slogan, but the whole point behind it is trying to convince people why they work. You work to take care of yourself, your family, you work to support your hobbies, you work to eventually retire and not have to work and be able to do the things you want to do day in and day out. What happens though if you get injured or you're catastrophically injured, or God forbid you die when you're at work? What does that mean for the people you leave behind? And so the Get Home Safe message is resonating, trying to change that mindset, that behavior. And that is really the goal behind it. So shameless plug, if you're not following Get Home Safe, please do so after this. Go to gethomesafend.com and register. We provide monthly safety topics. If you're searching for subjects for a toolbox or a safety stand down, whatever you do at your organization, we have a variety of resources, and they're available for free. You can download posters, you can download videos. One of the other things we try to do in our office as we see trends occurring in claims, we want to address those right away. So maybe it's slips, trips, and falls. Maybe it's lack of fall protection, lack of seatbelt use. When we start seeing some of those bad habits resulting in a spike in our claims, that's what our loss control group focuses on. So it's timely information and it's free information, and we want you all to take advantage of that. So today we are here with 4 individuals that work in the safety and health field across a variety of industries. We're going to talk to them about some of the best practices. We're going to talk to them about some of the new initiatives that they're taking part in with WSI and how that's impacted their business. So we're going to have a conversation with the 4 of them for a while. And then if you have questions, we're going to save some time, probably 20 minutes at the end, just for some Q&A from the audience. I recognize that we just had a French fry break. And so you're in here, it's the last session of the day. You've got full bellies of Cavendish Farms French fries, and so no nodding off, and we'll try to do the best to keep everybody not just entertained, but informed with some really good ideas and answers. So let's start off by introducing the panel. We'll start off with Nate over here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, and specifically your role with the company.
All right, so let's see if you can hear me. I'm Nate. I'm with Art Thompson and Sons here out of Bismarck, North Dakota. We are mechanical contractors that serve statewide. Primarily, we're located in the Bismarck area, but we have service techs all throughout the state. And what I'm doing here is we took part in the safety tech grant. Really, that was an opportunity for us to explore how we can keep our guys safe, and once again, how we can all get home safe. Part of that was some of our service techs, or what we ended up doing was looking at something for our installers. During the busy season, our sales guys like to fly around at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So what we did was we were able to procure a drone from WSI, or they funded it. And really the drone is just to be able to help our technicians slow down, see what's ahead of them. The sales guys, unfortunately, due to the testing requirements, and you're regarded as a real pilot, even though you're just flying around what seems like a toy. I'll go out with our sales guy. We'll take a flight around whatever it is we're looking at, whether it's a multi-story apartment that's got rooftop buildings or rooftop units, and we'll be able to take a video. It also is capable of thermal capabilities. We'll kind of see the condition, how things are, and it'll also give us an opportunity to look at what kind of safety precautions we need to take prior to sending our techs out there. Especially during the busy season of the year, it's not uncommon for them to be at 2-3 installs a day. So in the back of their mind, they're already flying 1,000,000 miles an hour. They're on to the next one before we even, finish up with the first one. So the idea behind this was really just to slow down, let our guys see what's ahead of them, and be able to plan appropriately, and just keep our guys safe by keeping them educated. And I think that's where most of our injuries come from, is being uneducated, putting ourselves in a situation that we don't know what's on the other side. So overall, it's been pretty great. In a perfect world scenario, every technician could have one in the back of his van. But it's not the way it works. So we're keeping it at a pretty small scale right now, and hopefully we can scale it up in the future. And at the end of the day, it's just an extra tool to have in your belt.
Perfect. And for those of you that don't know, one of the things that WSI did here a little over a year ago, many of you might be familiar with the ergonomics grants that we do to purchase equipment to stop repetitive motion injuries. We started looking at all the emerging technology that's coming out in the safety world, and we recognize it's difficult for businesses to invest in the latest and greatest best thing without seeing if it's actually going to work. Because a lot of times these things can be really expensive. And so, modeled after the ergonomics grant, we did a pilot program, our safety tech grant, and drones are one of the primary pieces of technology that we've helped invest in at the cost sharing with our business partners. And then we're going to run that pilot for a little over a year or so, just to see what type of results we're getting, and then we'll develop case studies and share that out. So if you're in a similar industry, you can see what's worked. Maybe if something didn't work, is there a better opportunity out there? And our next panelist here, David, you were also, tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, and then you were also a recipient of the Safety Tech Grant, but in a different application.
Correct. I'm David Moore with Busy Bees Hot Oil Incorporated. We are an oil and gas service company, primarily focused on trucking. We do hot oil trucking, water hauling, and hot shot. I'm the general manager, and my primary role is to support leaders within our company and create a safety-first culture, and just empower my employees to be able to make the decisions that work best for themselves. Like you said, we were also part of the technology grant. we used that grant to upgrade the software that we had for our current fleet camera system, giving us a lot more valuable information, and it was kind of a little bit mind-blowing right away what we found out. We kind of had that big brother, we had the camera in there with them, overlooking them, but we didn't have enough information and data, causing us to be a little bit more reactionary than we probably could have been. So once we got that information, we decided, like, we were able to shift mindsets there and be proactive with it. And we just kind of took care of the things we needed to right away with the employees. It empowered our leaders, our operational guys below me were able to get that information and use it immediately live right away. We weren't waiting for next week's safety meeting or the next morning for anything. They had instant information and feedback, as well as the system that we had in there was also able to provide some coaching to the employee. But more than that, it gave the employees an understanding that there was accountability and they had to make the right adjustments. Otherwise, there were other adjustments that had to be made. And we went from poor scores to good scores consistently, almost immediately, and we've continued to maintain that. And just that success and having those wins within our company has just kind of affected and snowballed a lot of different areas within our company. So it's been very, very successful and a huge win for us.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's the goal of what we were trying to do. And, I know we're just doing introductions here, so we want to we'll take a deeper dive into some of these areas with the new technology as we walk through our conversation today. But, you mentioned Big Brother and you mentioned, employee buy-in, and we're gonna focus on that because I think that's a challenge that everyone in this room faces. How much regulation, how much oversight, how do you get that buy-in? So I don't have all those answers, these guys do. And we'll ask for their opinions in just a little bit. But let's continue on. So Jason, shifting gears, you're in the power business, Minn Kota Power, and I'm sure that has zero hazards and every day is a cakewalk, right?
Squeaky clean, squeaky clean. No, nice to see you all. I'm Jason Euler. Serve as a safety manager, get that privilege for Minn Kota Power Cooperative right now. I'm based in Grand Forks, which is kind of where our overall headquarters is and the base for our transmission side of our business. But then we also have a power generation station out by Center, North Dakota, the Milton R. Young Station, where we have a 2-unit lignite coal plant. So Minn Kota has kind of a portfolio where we have our lignite coal power. We also have a bunch of wind power that comes into our portfolio. And then we do have some hydro that comes from WAPA, the Garrison Dam as well. We essentially are like the power wholesaler. So we take that electricity, transmit it over high voltage power lines, and then hand it off to our member-owned cooperatives. So there's 11 cooperatives kind of on the eastern side of North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota that basically are the recipients of our electricity. They then in turn work with their individual households and business customers and deal with that. So again, we're kind of the wholesaler. Been with Minn Kota about 13 and a half years. I also serve on the board for the North Dakota Safety Council. It's a privilege and an honor. I've been doing that for about 5 years. Eric was just asking me, I think it was around that COVID time. We speak in COVID language still, is it before or after? But prior to that, I was at the University of North Dakota for many, many years. So I ironically started there in landscaping when I was 16, when I wasn't working on the farm. I grew up out by Thompson, North Dakota on a farm. And I never left UND, I guess you'd say. I ended up going to school there, ended up working in the safety office, and then that kind of affected the education path that I took, and ultimately ended up being kind of the safety lead at UND and the lead of a few other things as well, police and parking and fleet and a lot of stuff like that. And a lot of great years at the university. It exposed me to some different hazards, right? Yeah, we have a med school that dealt with radiation and hazardous materials and infectious substances and just a variety of different things. An exciting atmosphere with new college kids coming all the time. And then I just decided when I was about 40 to make a change, and I've been at Minn Kota again for about 13 and a half. And what I did find is that safety is safety, whether it was at the higher ed level or whether it's working with a utility company. It's really the same issues everywhere, and that is connecting with people, building relationships, getting people to do the right thing when no one's watching, right? And that's because you build trust and because you build relationships and you put a lot of effort into that. It's not because of regs, it's not because of policies, it's not because of procedures. It's because people understand that the choices they make have an impact on their lives and their family. And so it doesn't happen by itself, and really happy to see this initiative because it really gels quite well with, I think, what we've been trying to do at Minn Kota already. Just focus on not just the work and the safety procedures and training that we do for work, but hope that they take that home and that they do that in their garage or on their hobby farm or when they're wrenching on a vehicle or remodeling their daughter's bedroom, whatever. Those safety things really transition in all aspects of life. And so that's the way we practice it, and I think it's just critically important.
All right, well, thanks. And last but not least, we have Brian. Brian's kind of representing a different group here. I know you have a full-time job, but you also have another important job, 18 years on the Harwood Volunteer Fire and Rescue. And I think a lot of times you look at what we do and what safety people do, you know, nobody really thinks about how do first responders take care of themselves? What are some of the hazards that you're seeing? And I think you see some of the worst of it. And so introduce yourself, and you can talk a little bit about your day job and then what you do for the city of Harwood.
Sure. So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Brian Geary. Currently, I serve as the Assistant Chief and President of Harwood Fire and Rescue, and I've been doing that for 18 years. Over that last 18 years, I've gone on thousands of emergency response calls, thousands and thousands of volunteer hours. Harwood Fire and Rescue is located just north of Fargo, and we're what's called a QRU, so a quick response unit. So the reason I designate that is because not all fire departments are made the same. So as a quick response unit, we respond to any and every type of emergency, whether it's a grain bin rescue, hazmat situation, obviously fire suppression, auto extrication. We train in active shooter situations. So pretty much everything that any emergency that can happen, that's what we're going to get called to. So an immense amount of training. I'm fortunate enough that Harwood Fire and Rescue has 24 volunteers that staff it. Amazing group of people that are willing to donate so much time and effort to help out people in some of the darkest hours of their life. So so proud and honored to respond next to them. So, but for my normal job is an operations manager at the Keurig Dr. Pepper company. I've been doing that for 28 years. So that's not quite as interesting. It's pretty mundane for there. So we got a good group. We deliver millions of cases of beverages, energy drinks, stuff like that. But we've recently at Harwood Fire had a couple close calls that have kind of forced us to kind of look at things a little bit different or hit the reset button on our safety. On the fire side, safety is paramount to what we do all the time. Any call at any day can turn from just a normal call. Okay. Let me start over.
Second verse, same as the first.
So, you can, okay, perfect. So, but any call can turn into a dangerous call, just whether it's an overdose that we're responding to, walking into a medical that turns into a carbon monoxide emergency. One of our biggest challenges is dealing with traffic on interstate. It's just anything can turn dangerous in the blink of an eye, so we constantly have to be ready for all those situations and in a sense deal with that. So, but no, just I'm happy to be here today, and hopefully we can get something out of that. So.
Well, I appreciate the introductions, and as you can see, we have a very diverse group of experts up here. And yes, for those of you that are wondering, and if Brian looks familiar, he was on a viral video that happened in about November of this year. Many of you probably saw it around Facebook on I-29 north of Fargo. Do you want to just walk us through that real quick, Brian, what you saw and how your team is, trying to protect themselves and what you train on for that situation?
Sure. So on that one back in November, that was one of the first storms we had of the year. And first storm of the year, everybody forgets how to drive. So this particular incident was we got called out to a tow truck versus pickup truck. When right on scene, there was actually 11 total vehicles that had spun out of control. We had some in the median, some in the ditch, and in that situation, visibility was tough. It was a rough night out there, but the entire scene was probably 400 yards long on a section of interstate where it's 80 miles per hour. So our main objective there was getting to all the different vehicles, but it was extremely slippery conditions on there. One of the challenges that you run into when responding on interstate is the direction of travel. So the actual call that we were running to was farther south of the scene, so we had to go check on those patients first. But we passed by those 10 vehicles to get to it. So after we dealt with the tow truck, then we had to work our way back to the north or up traffic on there. So in that situation, our trucks are already north of the scene there. So me and one of my other firefighters basically had to walk with our trauma bags back and check on each of these vehicles. On that particular night, there was crashes everywhere. Dispatch was overwhelmed. Highway patrol and deputies were overwhelmed on there. So we didn't have enough bodies. I had 2 fire trucks on scene. We had 1 HP on scene, and we needed at least double that. So on situations we have the authority to shut interstate down, divert traffic, whatever happens to be, that comes with challenges and safety concerns on that too, because it has to be done right. But bottom line is we didn't have enough bodies, and while working with getting some of the victims out into our trucks to transport to our station, an individual came flying through our scene way too fast, and luckily I saw him coming at me. I was able to dodge it, jump out of the way, and my other firefighter did not see it, but he heard me. I think I pulled a Scooby-Doo, yikes, whatever. But he was
Thanks
able to
for
dodge
keeping it PG, by the way.
So he was quick enough, he was able to get out of the way. So could have just happened that fast. Like I said, I've been on thousands of calls, thousands of hours, but people recognize me for that 3 seconds of me dodging a pickup truck is what got me 1 million views on the internet. But yeah, thankfully we were all okay, but it really forced us to hit that reset button, because when I went home, it just, going back to his wife and tell him I couldn't protect him was not acceptable for me. So we started looking at how we do things, and we have protocols on how to protect a scene, but we need the right number of resources to do that, and we just didn't have it. So we had to make do with it, and luckily we all got through it, but we ended up transporting 8 individuals, 2 dogs to our station, left all the vehicles there, kicked all the tow trucks off the interstate, and that's pretty much how we had to do it. So, but if we would have had a few more bodies, that would have been great, but we always, my crew always gets the job done. They always get it done, but sometimes, no matter how much protocols, how much training you do, sometimes there's just that X factor that you just have to deal with, and that was a rough night, and I could talk all night about different calls, but this was one that we had a dash camera, got caught on there. Our chief posted it because he was so upset, and then it just kind of went viral from there. So, but yeah, luckily everyone's okay. So.
Well, I think thank you for sharing that. I know it's deeply personal, and you didn't probably want to be a YouTube star, but I think it really helped to demonstrate the type of dangers that are out there. And, you mentioned not wanting to ever have to call the spouse of one of your firefighters and tell them that they're not coming home. And that's really the goal of what we're all trying to do. And I think, every person in here can think about when the light finally clicked for you. Like, when was your aha moment, right? And when did that change the way you thought about safety? I know you said you just kind of found your way into it, but was there a specific, and for the rest of you, was there a specific incident that you can think of in your career or in your lifetime that really made it click for you to make it your passion to want to be out there and driving that point home that safety's not a choice, it's a must?
Well, I think when I had kids was probably, for me, the most personal. I had been doing safety for a number of years already. My wife and I would call a little older than average parents. I still have one in high school, 2 girls, God bless me, curse me with. I grew up with one brother. I wasn't ready for the girl thing. So, but it certainly changed my perspective. But I've been doing safety for 30 some odd years, right? And so when I look back, I could sit down all night and tell you strange stories and freak things that happened. And but the thing that really struck me is that I have had to deal with a few fatalities, and that is a horrible, horrible thing to have to deal with. Now, the crazy thing about those fatalities and what really irritated me deeply was that they weren't what I thought they'd be. And what I mean by that is, I work for a power company now, right? So high voltage electricity, and dangerous power plants, and so you think that. You think about my time at the university. I mentioned radiation and chemicals and all these things. The first fatality I had to deal with was an individual far senior to me that had long since retired and ended up just calling me one day when I was at the university and, well, hey, how's retirement? And I said, not very good. And that's not what you expect to hear, right? But he had just found out he was diagnosed with mesothelioma, which if you don't know what that is, but it's the worst asbestos-related disease that you can get. And I met with him and his family, and within a matter of months, he was gone. And it was frustrating, and it was horrible, but I also knew that my work couldn't maybe have changed that. It all happened when I was probably a child, honestly. The second fatality that I had to experience, again, you think of all the crazy things I have to try to manage for safety. It was a 72-year-old employee of the university that parked in the parking lot and was walking across the street in the crosswalk to his place of work. He was a cancer survivor, just the most awesome guy. I'd known him for years. And a young man stopped at a stop sign, took a left to the east. This was like 7:45 in the morning, and took him out right in the crosswalk. Didn't see him. And of course, he didn't die right away. Oh no, he had to be in the hospital for a few weeks and ultimately passed away. And you know what the cause of that crash was? I mean, he wasn't seen, right? He wasn't seen. So right away, oh, these cell phones, that kid was texting, that kid was on drugs, or that kid was impaired. No. The police reported to me at UND at the time. That's not what happened, and that's not what caused it. You know what caused it? Any guesses? The sun. In the morning, when you turn left down Campus Road at that time of the day, it's just a big ball of red, and that was not a cloudy day. And so I'm thinking to myself, and this is what hit me, Art, is that all the training, all the things I've been through, and this wonderful person is no longer a granddad, and he's not with his family anymore because someone didn't have their sunglasses on, or they didn't put their visor down? Really? I mean, that's the frustrating part about what we do, is that you don't know where these things are going to come from, and you can plan for all these things, but really at the end of the day, it's about this culture of get home safe in everything you do. I don't want to make people paranoid, but I want to make people think all the time about the choices they make. The choices of, I always have a pair of sunglasses in every darn car. I must have umpteen different pair, but that's why, right? Because it makes a difference, a little thing that makes a big difference. So,
I appreciate that. How about the two of you? Any aha moments or the time when you really started to recognize the value of safety, not just, for yourself, but for those that are working with you?
For sure. Myself, being in the oil and gas industry, being on locations with, at times, hundreds of people, I, twice in my career, had a fatality on location. It was outside of the company that I worked for. It was somebody else, but it was a tragedy. It was tragic. And if I am honest and I think about it, and I'm just telling you guys the truth, I didn't have personal ownership in it then. It didn't have that effect on me. It wasn't personal. And I had the original, yeah, I'm gonna champion safety now after this incident, but it just wasn't personal. It didn't hit me. It wasn't until I had kids, till I had an incident driving just on a 4-lane road, just heading an hour to location that I'd done routinely every morning and was complacent. Got tired. The truck in front of me had everything perfectly fine, blinkers working, and I was just dazed out, tired, doing whatever. He was going to turn left on a 4-lane and was just getting up to the turning lane when I realized what was going on. I had my cruise set at 75. I was right on top of him. I swerved around him on the left side when he was turning left and made it back in front of him before he even made the turn, which is, those are the big ones that you hear that people don't make back. I had 3 children at the time, and I have 4 now. So that is personal for me, and that is something that I hold on to all the time, and that's when I definitely transitioned. That's what does, but making it personal for each individual is, I think, what really gets things where they need to be headed.
Sure. Unlike these guys, I don't have too much time in the field. It's still in my bright-eyed and bushy-tailed stage, but prior...
Did you just call us all old?
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Take it how you want it, but...
Seasoned, I get it, yeah.
So prior to working at H.A. Thompson and Sons, I was a Marine Corps infantryman for 5 years. And it's during those early years, you really enjoy just cowboying things. Obviously, everyone in their younger years has the invincibility mindset, and it's a common trend, I think, with all of us. It's as soon as fatherhood hits, things start to slow down, and you really kind of put things into perspective of how quick you cannot make it home at night. And so I've been able to transfer that over to H.A. Thompson and Sons. You know, different guys, but it's all the same thing. It's just one big band of misfits, and you know, personally knowing and working with each and every one of them, you make it as personal as you can. Understand what makes them tick and how we can drive home, that they're going to get home safe at the end of the day. And that's really about it, you know.
Yeah, no, I appreciate those, personal stories, and I think everybody in the room can relate to certain aspects of each and every one of them. That's why we do what we do, right? And it takes a caring individual. It takes that personal belief for yourself, but then also to have that resonate to those that you are ultimately responsible for. I've heard a number of things up here about slowing down, taking the time, stop, make sure you have the right resources. Not being in a hurry, speeding, rushing, trying to get the job done. That's a challenge that's faced. And one of the questions always is how do you manage, the ability to work safe when you have operational goals and deadlines and customers that might be screaming at you at the other end of the phone. I'm looking at you, but I'm sure that never happens, right? Like, where's my truck? Where's my truck? Never. So what strategies or what advice would you give for the folks listening out here? How do you do that? How do you achieve that balance of being able to meet your productivity goals while also making sure that everybody goes home with, the same number of finger and toes every day? I don't know who wants to start with that one. Don't everybody speak at once.
No, I'm happy to start with that one, and I guess I'm going to answer this a couple different ways. The first way, I'm going to challenge everybody, whether you're the safety person, the HR person, somebody that's on the production side, whether you're the CEO boss. I'm really challenging you if you're the CEO boss. You all need to talk to your leaders. And some of you might already have a pretty good feel for what their tone is that they're setting for the organization. Do they have safety as one of the core values? Is it something they talk about every time they're in front of the board or I'm fortunate at Minn Kota. Our CEO and president is very, very safety minded, and there's not a meeting that goes by where he doesn't, brag up, how things are going and how proud he is of our employees, and he doesn't remind everybody that the worst thing he could possibly do is have to go knock on someone's door and say they're not coming home. So he gets it, and he supports us, and I know that, right? I would not want to work for an organization And that's the hard part for all of you, is that if you are stuck in an organization that doesn't get it, you might want to think about where you're working. Either you get them to flip, or you realize this maybe isn't where I should practice this, because it has to start from the top. You can do everything you can. You can care deeply. You can build relationships with employees, and that's a big part of what we try to do. A couple of my guys aren't in the room, but they're here at the conference with me from the Grand Forks side, and then a couple of my guys from the power plant side are also here, and they spend a lot of time just out and about, just talking to the crews, talking to the employees, having a little fun. I mean, we like to tease, we like to joke around, build a relationship. How's your family doing? I mean, it's the old cliche, you spend more time with these folks at work than you do your own family sometimes, right? Work is family. It is your family. You're with them all the time. And if you don't care deeply, if you don't build those relationships, but almost more importantly, if you don't have the person at the top that's going to support the little things you do, if they're all just worried about the policy, the procedure, the reg, the OSHA visit, the this, that, and they don't let you build programs that build trust and build relationship, you either need to get them to flip that a little bit, hell, have them call me. I'll do everything I can to set them straight. So will Art. And I would extend that all the time. People sometimes need to have a little shock to the system and realize that, guess what stops when somebody gets hurt or killed? Production. It completely stops. So efficiency does follow safety, right? Happy, safe employees are very productive. They have better job satisfaction. You end up with better quality and a better product overall. So it's important your top leaders recognize that.
Any other thoughts on that? Anything that you've found beneficial, when scheduling projects and the amount of work?
Sure. Thankfully, we're super fortunate to have an amazing office staff that unfortunately sometimes does have to take the brunt of, it's 95 degrees out, my house is 85 degrees, this is miserable, and the guys are out in the field just dying, just getting after it. They're able to handle that, and what we really have to realize is safety doesn't occur in the office. Like he said, it's not behind that. It's at the end of the day, it's not about the SOPs. It's not about bottom line or anything financial wise. It's the guys in the field. So I implore you or encourage you to, if you don't have a pretty good connection to your guys in the field, or I know we have multiple variety of employers here, get down to the lowest level, hang out with them for a day, see what their day looks like, and work your way up, start to understand what they need. At the end of the day, I think I'm preaching here is education is our biggest fault. And that's where I think all of our injuries do occur, is lack of education, whether it's about what they're doing, whether it's about a safety process that's involved. But at the end of the day, it's in the field, it's not the office. So get out there.
Yeah, being in the oil and gas industry, I would say everybody has just kind of got that boom or bust mentality from the outside looking in. On the inside, I think it is shifted for the better, and people are creating a safety first culture, and the companies that are doing it correct are doing it, like you said, from the top down. And it starts from the top, and the employees that are below the owner, which is everybody at that company, needs to feel empowered to do what's right and to do what's safe. And if the next guy down does, then the next guy down, then the next guy, and it just snowballs. And the partnerships that you create, those customers that you maybe get some flack from initially, I feel like that kind of eventually works itself out and they understand. And if you're open and honest with them, you can't really change anything by being aggressive and forcing people to do things, like you said, and then you'll create an incident of some sort that not just hurt somebody, but it'll also lose business if they have a bad experience even without an injury. So just the empowerment from the top down and partnering with the right people that are willing to do work the right way.
These guys make my job really, really easy. I just get to sit and ask some canned questions here. we're going to shift gears just a little bit. I mean, one of the things that I'm most proud of at WSI, we've tracked the number of employers and the number of claims that come into our agency from our very beginning. We are on a very positive trend right now in the fact that North Dakota continues to grow. Our number of employers that purchase coverage through us is almost at 28,000 employer accounts. We provide coverage for over 430,000 workers in North Dakota. Last year, the total number of claims that were filed with WSI were just over 16,500. That is an all-time low. And so I want to take this moment just to say thank you to everybody in the room, to you and your companies, because I think we are starting to see that shift where businesses are recognizing the importance of making sure people have the time to do the job, the tools. They're making that investment, and we're starting to see that, and that's hopefully going to continue to get even better, and those numbers continue to drop. I joke that, I hope that we work ourselves out of a job. I really do, but it's going to take a lot of work to get there. But I think some of the things that we're seeing is people getting really innovative and taking advantage of technology and automation and different things like that. And I mentioned the safety technology pilot program, the grant program that we rolled out, and we're seeing some really cool things. So, the question is, how do you decide what new technology to invest in? And then once you do that, how do you get the buy-in from your team members that already think maybe you're looking over their shoulder a little too much, and show them how this can be a valuable tool versus just, the company trying to keep tabs on you? You want to take that one
Yep,
to start with?
I'll start. Just holding employees accountable and doing it in a way that comes from you're coaching them, you're doing things the right way for them to make their job easier and better. And I think just the consistency with accountability, making the right decisions on what avenues to go down. I think that can be kind of tricky. The technology grant definitely opened a door for us that made it a lot easier to stomach and swallow and do those type of things. Just this morning, today, we had an incident on a location with a customer. It wasn't even on a location, but we had an issue, something that we were able to use GPS tracking and our monitoring and all these things to basically kind of CYA a little bit. And instead of possibly having a negative effect with one of our best customers, we're able to immediately give them information and share with them. And when companies like the camera companies and stuff, when they come and sell it, they sell you on this type of thing. They're 100% going to do it. And it's ironic that today, the day that we're coming here, that this happened, but it's true. And it's very, very easy to speak on right now. But I could probably go into our QuickBooks account and put a tangible dollar amount on the money that we saved so far this year by keeping this customer happy. So maybe went off the side a little bit.
No, you're good. Sure.
One thing I would add. Go ahead. One thing I would add to that too. So we've had an AVL program for probably the last 10, 11 years. We haven't done the camera thing yet. We seem to have some pretty strong opposition from our union on that thus far. We'll see in the future. I do think there's some benefit to them personally even. It's kind of like if you think about dash cams or body cams, it's like if you're not doing anything wrong and you're doing everything right, think about the liability protection that provides you, because all of our companies are traveling billboards and people see dollar signs, right? They see the power company or this business or that business and they think, oh, hey. And so sometimes you get accused of things that aren't valid. And cameras and AVL system data and those things can really be that voice of truth that, no, we were doing everything right. And that can really help an organization to mitigate some risk. And so that's one thing I know that is real. But yeah, there's certainly some cultural challenges to it as well. But one thing I wanted to also add, whether you're talking about the ergonomics grants or this new technology, I understand is just in the pilot phase, if y'all haven't taken advantage of those opportunities, you need to, right? I mean, one of our biggest challenges as safety folk is, we don't always get all the funding we want to do all the things we want to do. And this is one more opportunity that we have to really leverage some dollars and do good for our employees. You owe it to them to look at those options and take advantage of that. But when you're trying to decide which things to do, what I would really encourage you to do is ask your employees. I can sit in my office and I know a whole lot about a lot of stuff, but I'm not out doing line work. I don't know what makes their job easier. They do. And so sitting down and talking to them, that's what builds that trust, right? And then they have buy-in, and it's just going to work better. So it sounds so simple, but I think so many of us sometimes don't do that. We have all of our meetings for the sake of having meetings, and we put our priorities together, and has anybody actually sat down and talked to the folks on the ground doing the work? That's where it needs to start from, because they're the ones that are going to tell you what they need.
I would agree with Jason on that as far as the camera side of it. And in the fire industry, that's a game changer for us for the dash cams, because then we can actually go back and we debrief just about after every call. What went right, what didn't go right, and right at that moment we'll change our protocols if necessary on there. So, but then you can get an accurate picture of what actually happened on there. Also, when it comes to the cameras in the fire industry, our thermal imaging cameras. One thing that we deal with a lot is, if you've ever seen Chicago Fire before, Rescue 911, yeah, that's not what really happens on there. So, if you're in a structure fire, and you might as well just close your eyes, because there's zero visibility in there. I've been in fires that I got flames from the ground to the floor or to the ceiling, 10 feet away from me, and I can't see them. It's just that. It's that dark, it's that smoke invested on there. So thermal imaging cameras will distinguish between the different heat sources, so you can actually see through all that smoke on there, so you know where to spray the water, right? But those are game changers for us. We have handheld units. We also have units in our SCBA face mask on there, so we can find out what we're looking for, whether we're looking for a victim in there, whether we're actually looking for the fire, hotspots, whatever it happens to be. So those are game changers for us. One thing we haven't got yet is a drone with a thermal imager on there. But we would love one. I'm just
We're all very excited for this technology grant.
Yeah, I'm looking at Jane Wick, our Director of Loss Control right now, figuring that you and your team are going to be pretty busy fielding some requests after this presentation. We'll see what we can do for you.
Sure. So I'll speak on Ben's behalf a little bit. Same thing, we looked at the safety tech grant, and we just figured, why not? So we went ahead and applied for it. I really didn't think we were gonna actually get it. I mean, you can only imagine how many people are applying for it. And it was really awesome once we did get it, and we did get this drone. And the first time I was able to take it out into the shop yet, and all the techs start gathering around going, what is that? They think the worst. That's the eye in the sky. It's going to come creep up on us, which was not the intended purpose. But the first time we were able to take it up, just even in the shop, and point it at one of our unit heaters, and I flicked it over to the thermal imaging camera, and you're able to see within 1/10 of a degree with that FLIR camera that's built into it. You can see temperature differentials, which is a huge part of what we're doing, how we're measuring the performance of units that we look at. Like I say, it's not a replacement for techs, personnel. It's another tool in their toolbox. If they can measure the output of a unit or how it's doing, that saves them from climbing up on a 12-foot ladder to take a look at something. And it's even some of our older guys, as soon as they saw that, they went, I wish we had this 20 years ago. So the buy-in has universally been the same. Everyone wishes they could just have one. And ideally that would be the end goal. But once they understood the actual goal of this was to give them knowledge so they don't come in the morning going, what are we doing? Where are we going? What do we need? They already know based off the video playback what they need to be set up for the day. And so the buy-in was there from the beginning.
I think some really, really great examples there. And I think, the key is communication. As new technology comes out, explaining the why, but also understanding the why you need it. And to your point, Jason, I mean, talking to the person that's closest to the transaction is where you get the best answers. I can sit in the office and think that I have the greatest idea and go out and try to implement it. My team will probably tell me, no, that's a dumb idea, and they'll give me the why, and then we work through the actual needs. And I think it's a relationship business. We're all in this together, right? When you choose to work for a company, you make a commitment to them, they make a commitment to you, and it's got to work both ways. And the fundamental part of that is communications, being listening to the people when they bring a concern to you. And you might not have all the answers right away, but follow up. It's like, hey, I don't know, but let me look into that and then make a mental note. I put reminders in my phone all the time because I just turned a magical age and my memory's not quite what it used to be. Yeah, I know. I mean, turning 30 is terrible.
It's rough.
And so, no comments from the peanut gallery over here, young guy. But the follow-up, I mean, it helps build that respect and to show that you're actually serious and taking their concerns serious. Kind of want to shift gears again here a little bit. We have somebody that's used to going into emergency situations, and you've been trained, Brian, on how to handle that and what to look for. A lot of us, can look at different scenarios, and we don't see accidents and big catastrophic events, fortunately, on a daily basis. How do you train your folks to stay calm in that? And do you have any tips to help, these folks share with their team members when something out of the ordinary, some emergency, something catastrophic might happen, and, we can't run around like chickens with our heads cut off? How do you maintain that sense of calm in the chaos? Any words of advice? Or?
Yeah. So even after doing it for all these years, whenever my pager goes off, that you immediately get that adrenaline dump. So you're naturally just jacked up on there. So I personally flip it around and try to be extra calm. I must go slower than I normally act on there. And especially when we get on scene, usually based off the proximity where I live and my response, I'm usually our incident commander, and I know a lot of my job is keeping an eye on all my people and understanding my people and which ones get jacked up and need to be calmed down and which ones I don't need to. So I have a few individuals that are just rock stars, but they just get ramped up. So sometimes you just got to calm them down before they go into that house or whatever happens to be. But just taking a second, just breathing and think those thoughts through. So we kind of have a rule that in the fire side, you never run. You walk with purpose on there, but you never run on there. So causing you to slow down your decision-making process and not rush into anything. So, but you got to just control that adrenaline when it's that emergency situation and just stop and think to move through it. So.
I've always wondered that because I don't think I'd be very good in those situations. I'd probably be the one you want to punch and haul out of the building, just easy to knock me out and take me out of there. So thank you for answering that. We looked at a lot of different things today, and one of the things that I would like to, have each of you discuss is we've got this variety of years of experience up here, and so what is, we've all seen changes in the safety and health industry. What do you foresee changing the most in the next 5 to 10 years? Could be specific to your industry, but what does the future look like? What should we be preparing for in terms of safety and health of our workforce?
I'll start here. I don't know. So I don't have a good answer to that. When you ask that question, I look at is where were we 5 or 10 years ago versus where we're at now. So where will it go in the next 5 or 10? I don't know. And all I can say is you just have to keep an eye on the curves, adapt to what's coming ahead, and deal with it. But I don't have a good answer to where the next 5 or 10 years is. I'm sorry, Art. So.
No drone for you.
Well played. Well played. I don't know that I have the answer either. I think there's certain things we know. We tend to see a lot of the talk about the whole AI, and I just sat through an AI thing before this session in this very room, and I must confess I'm one of those guys that hasn't really used it much yet, at least not willingly. And I do think that a lot of the simple administrative types of things, like writing an SOP or writing a safety manual, things that took a lot of time before, they don't need to take a lot of time now. You can put a lot of good information in and get a pretty good product and proofread it and make sure it applies to you. And that part, I think, of safety is maybe going away. What I think isn't going away and probably becomes even more important is really a central theme we've talked about today, and that's that building of relationship, that building of trust, doing the little things, talking to all the right people. And you can't just go back to if you're not the one that goes out and talks to your employees regularly now, you can't just show up tomorrow and all of a sudden think you're going to be buddy-buddy with all of them, right? It takes time to build relationships, but you do the little things. You show up on the job site with a cooler of Gatorade or some snacks, or you just little things, baby steps, right? And you work yourself into that position where you really have trust and where they come willingly and openly and talk to you. I'm really proud that the team I've got gets questions all the time. I mean, on the Grand Forks side, on the transmission side, some of the linemen and electricians will even call my guys and say, hey, if you're going to do a site visit, you probably want to come on this day because, man, we're doing something kind of crazy. They're lifting a big transformer, and years ago, they'd have never done that, right? That shows they trust my guys. They actually want them there. And when I got to that point where I started to see that and hear that, it's like, that's really cool. And that's the rewarding part about safety. That's kind of a thankless job sometimes. We're not heroes, right? Like you get to be sometimes. We're not putting wet stuff on hot stuff, and we're not necessarily tangibly treating a wound. When safety goes right, nothing happens, right? That's the point. And so you got to find your rewards in those little things like, man, they just invited us to a site visit? What? They just brought a close call to our attention? Really? Those are the indicators that they trust you and you've built that culture that you're included. And if you get there, good things happen.
Any thoughts on that? What does the future look like in your industries as far as technology, safety for your folks in the next 5-10 years? Young guy.
So, being the young guy here, I guess I'll kind of toot our generation's horn a little bit. I know we like to give them a lot of flack, but going back to the education piece, the generation that's upcoming right now is more educated than, unfortunately, a lot more than the majority of this room were able to be, being the information that we have at the tips of our hands. So I implore you to, your guys know what they're doing. Give them the right resources to do the job. They know what they're doing. They're the subject matter experts. So we just need to work alongside them to achieve our goal. And just as he said, something simple as bring them Gatorade. Start at the bottom. Just take care of your guys, and you're going to see it come full circle. I can't predict the future, but we can see the trends that we have now. AI is not going anywhere. The guys are only going to get smarter. So stay ahead of the curve and work with them.
He gets the drone.
He already has one.
Okay. I was just kind of second what he said. Just information and education for employees. I think the culture stuff, like you said, that remains the same, and that's having a just that personal touch with employees and working alongside of them, partnering with our customers, those type of situations. That's kind of the personal touch that AI can't own. But when we use AI and use it for some good, and like you said, you proofread it, you use it for saving time in certain situations, not cutting corners, that it can just provide a lot of value for a company.
Perfect. All right, well, I've gone through a lot of questions. There's still more, but you have sat here diligently, not nodding off for quite a while now. So any questions from the audience that you would like to have addressed by any one of our panelists? And we'll have you talk into the mic.
I don't need the mic, but I'll ask one. Jason, do you talk to engineers?
Do I talk to engineers?
Yeah, you want to give your speech to an engineer? Because if it works on paper, it works on everything.
Well, you know, we are a company with a lot of engineers. We have a lot of electrical, as you can imagine. We have a lot of mechanical. We have some civil. We have some environmental. And you know what? I think it's just involvement and engagement. You know, they're a part of the team like anybody. And so they have learned at Minn Kota that if they want their plan, it's going to be critiqued by not just our own employees, but the contractors that come on site and wonder why you put that there. I'm kind of a motorhead. I like working on cars, and believe me, I have my own frustrations sometimes about why did they put a $14 sensor behind a manifold or, you know, in a place that cost you $1,000 to do the repair. But the reality of it is, at least in our industry, it's a part of a bigger process. So whenever we have a project, engineering is one piece of it, but the operations folks usually are at the table with them, sitting across, and they talk about, you know, the PMs that might need to be done down the road. So it's really just a part of a bigger puzzle, and I just think it all can be kind of managed on the front end. Because yeah, if you let those engineers run by themselves, sometimes they don't always think about the serviceability and all of that. I get you.
There has to be more questions than that.
While we're waiting for a question, one thing that I just wanted to say in kudos to the young guy down here, who's also a Thompson product, which is pretty darn cool. I don't even remember him. That's how much younger he is. But the reality of it is that I like about the younger folks in the workforce is that, you know, as a Gen Xer, a do-it-myselfer, old farm boy that can do a lot of things, I sometimes tease that generation, right? But what I love about that generation is when they have come into our workforce, they're so much more open-minded, right? They're not the ones that are plaguing the safety effort with the, we've always done it that way. They're wearing their seatbelts. They're open-minded to new ideas. They've always been recipients of change. It's some of the older ones that we have the struggles with, right? Because they've been getting away with the same thing wrong for the last 25 years, and they've just never had it bite them, right? So I've actually seen a lot more open-minded, and from a safety practitioner for a lot of years, I appreciate that. So thank you to that, and I think that as much as some of us older folks tease the younger ones, they do have a lot of information. They do have the ability to use it, but they're just far more open to changes.
My question actually bounced off your response just now of how do you get the older generations that you have working for you to be more open to the technological side of things and being accepting of using it in a productive way?
When you figure that out, let me know. So, you know, here's the thing. And I don't represent our IT function with Minn Kota, but I talk to them a lot, and, you know, they do a lot of training. They try real hard. We, you know, try to get the folks set up, but I think there is an understanding that there is some gap. I think part of the challenge, and we've done this at our organization, is work through, there's a variety of like leadership trainings you can do, and there's one that is a training session about different generations in the workplace. We've put a ton of our employees through that just so they understand each other because they're motivated differently, right? So even things like that is helpful, I think, just so people understand that, the way that one looks at it might be different than the younger one. Sometimes you got to give them a little bit more help. Like our pre-job briefings are all electronic. Guess what? Sometimes we still have them with some paper copies too, because at the end of the day, we want to accommodate them, and we just want to, however they need to work, just make sure you get it done. So sometimes we accept that they are never going to be super tech savvy, but training is probably the best way we do it.
Yeah, with our industry, as far as I think just the training, getting them on board with things immediately and giving them good coaching, not just a random, hey, here you go, this is the new way, you have to do it, but get them comfortable with it, comfortable with change, which is definitely tough. So if you can stay with them on it and make it current and have them see value in their day for it, like digital versus paper. A truck driver out in Elements trying to do a JSA on paper versus being able to just access it on their phone. We've done some coachable moments just with some of our SOPs and stuff like that. Instead of handing them our salesman at our office, it was his idea for this, but one of our SOPs that we were going to change with our drivers, he just said, when everybody is sitting there, I'm going to send that to them out there mass on their phones. So we'll be sitting in the meeting and we'll just see who can get it and who can't. And they'll have it right there in their hand. And we did that. And then it especially worked good for the younger guys that were just on their phones anyway, not paying attention. but it had that little personal effect to it and got some buy-in from it.
Giving them a good resource for questions too. You can train them, but as long as you have like the servicing department, whether that's your IT group or whatever, they need to know who they can call, and those people responding to those calls need to be understanding that they're going to get more from certain individuals that are maybe, let's say, the senior employees.
Here's kind of an interesting statistics, or at least it is to me, because I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, but when I look at our data, when we look at the percentage of how much time a person has worked for an entity when they were injured, how many would guess that what percentage of our claims happen to people that are in their job for 1 year or less? No WSI people can't answer this.
Security, get these guys on.
So I've seen it, I'm from over in Montana, so I don't, but we run 50 to 60%. The really cool thing is, this last year, I saw my data, I work for work comp, my data showed we dropped to 30%. You know why? I saw mentoring and coaching going on. And that's what I tell companies is if half of our injuries are coming from these guys with less than 1 year of experience with their company, it doesn't mean that they're fresh off the block. They might have experience with, they got to learn your culture. This is the Thompson and Sons way of doing things. That's what's going to keep them from getting hurt. But the one thing I saw this last summer was I saw a lot of mentoring and a lot of coaching, and it showed up in our claims.
Wow, you could have been a plant. So in North Dakota, our numbers show that 33% of our claims, 1/3, happen to people that are with their current employer 1 year or less. And that doesn't mean that they're just the young people coming out of college. It's across every single age demographic. And what you said resonates. People that, you think you're hitting a home run because you're hiring somebody with 20 years of experience and they're coming into your organization, but you still need to focus your attention on them because you're right. They don't know how you do things. They're also new, so they're maybe not as comfortable bringing safety concerns to your attention, different things that they don't want to make a bad impression. All of those things, when you're a new hire and you don't have that trust level and you want to do a good job and you're afraid to put your hand up, those are all huge contributing factors. Travelers Insurance, which insures companies nationwide. So does Nationwide. But it's getting late in the day, folks. Thanks for laughing at my stupid jokes. The national average is 34%, 1 year or less. So when you look at the different demographics and you try to get the older generation to buy in versus the younger generation, the other thing you need to look at is when you hire people across all age demographics, your safety training and your resource and your reach out to them to make them comfortable has to be the same for any new individual coming into your operation. That has to be paramount. Got a question way in the back.
Way in the back, I don't have a question, I just want to put in a plug, because we're talking about new hires. If you guys do not have a safety session Thursday morning at 8 a.m., WSI is putting on a new hire orientation training session. Ben Sand, who's here, and then Nathan Schulte are two of our safety consultants that will be putting that on, and it's going to be a great session. So if you don't have a session, please go and join them.
I was actually just going to kind of throw that out there for all of you too. So when you think about new employee orientation, there's a lot, that is an area that you can continuously improve within your organization. It's one thing to say you do it, right? And have them show up on their first day and give them their PPE and go through tons of policies and procedures with them. How much do you think they're going to retain? They're still, looking around because they're brand new and they're scared and, well, sorry. I'm just saying at my current company, we've started this whole, and we do our orientation kind of like that, but then we've implemented this whole other thing that's not even about orientation. We call it What's Up, kind of a play on the power industry. And it's really just a time, we do it a couple times a year, where everybody who's new in the last 6 months all gets together from both locations. Everybody gets together and they do some team building. They have some speakers come in. They tour the plant. They tour headquarters. They're not alone anymore, right? They have all of a sudden started to kind of find out, hey, there's other people that just started here too. And it helps them feel more comfortable. They're more apt to share. And it's just an area you can always do better. So you might think you have an orientation program, but I'd challenge you all, take a look at it and go listen to these folks, because it sounds like they're going to give you a lot of good ideas.
Yeah, I digress. We're going to take some of that content and add it to it.
All right, well, we're going to close out here with just one final question to each one of our panelists. I just want to say thank you for, again, volunteering or maybe voluntolding to be part of this group. I think we've had a lot of good information exchange. Hopefully you've given this group some things to think about, to go back and to implement when they're back at their home operations. And so just the last question, if there's one takeaway from this afternoon that you think everybody in this room and their teams back home could benefit from this discussion, what would that be? What's the one thing you want them to remember from today's discussion?
It's a tough one. I would say something that's pretty obtainable. Get out of your comfort zone. Like, I'm not comfortable with this tech grant thing at all. And it was really just a shot in the dark. But the good thing about this being a pilot program, there's no definitive answer on we need results from you from this, this, and this. No, we're exploring it right now. We're figuring out what works. And so I think we're phase 2 coming up here pretty quick. Give it a shot. Try something that you guys wouldn't otherwise try. It's an opportunity for some good funding for some things that you otherwise wouldn't consider probably.
If your partnerships or people that you're working with or people that you're working for, be it the job that you're working at, like you'd said before, if they're not in the same alignment with you, it's time to reevaluate.
I'm going to build off of the out of your comfort zone thing a little bit. One of the biggest ways that you can build trust with people and show them that you are genuine and that you actually care is to be a little bit vulnerable. I mean, sometimes it's not so comfortable to talk about certain things with people, but you have to. Safety really is about those that care. At the end of the day, you've got to see the reward of run into somebody at the mall with their kids. And that's our reward, right? Is that they get to do that because they didn't get hurt at work. And so, again, there's not a lot of bells and whistles and glory that goes with being a safety professional. So you got to build those relationships and really find your joy in that. That's what safety looks like, folks. It looks like people going about their daily lives with the people they love and getting to do it. And if you can make yourself vulnerable and build the trust that you need with folks to really be a part of that, it's pretty cool. But you got to be vulnerable sometimes.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too. When you care about your people, it starts with that. So having to have the conversation with one of their family members that something terrible happened, it's something you never want to have to do. So care about your people, look forward into it to make sure that never happens to them. And one of the best ways to keep it from happening is, I think, what Art started with was prevent the accident from happening in the first place, which the biggest thing I preach all the time is situational awareness. See what's going on around you. So things can change in just a heartbeat, but just pay attention to what's going on around you. Know what your people do. Talk to your people as far as concerns that they may have, because again, they know it firsthand, and address it. So don't just sweep it under the rug, but just deal with it to make sure you never have to have that conversation with their family member. So.
Well, on that, it's tough for me to have any other final comments. Want to thank all of you for spending the last hour and a half with us. I also want to promote June 1st, which is Get Home Safe Day in North Dakota. June is National Safety Month, so we have a proclamation from the governor of North Dakota to make June, or the first Monday in June, Get Home Safe Day in North Dakota. So as part of that event, we will be hosting some activities at the North Dakota Heritage Center. We will be hosting some activities throughout our regional offices in the state. We'll have watch parties. So if you do want to plan a safety training around that, please just for now save the date June 1st around 10 a.m. Those of you that will now go and get signed up for the Get Home Safe updates. Again, gethomesafend.com. Put in your email. I promise we won't sell it. If you get spam, it's from somebody else, not us. But there's a lot of good information there and more details about Get Home Safe Day in North Dakota coming June 1st. With that, hope you've enjoyed day one. A lot of content. Again, thank you to our panelists. Let's give them a round of applause. Don't forget to fill out your surveys. If you want a drone, make sure I get high numbers. Make sure I feel like Oprah, we're just going to be giving them out to everybody. Anyway, thank you. Have a great rest of your conference.